Hi, everyone. I am super excited to be talking to Breanna Moreno, the head of CX at Order Protection, which offers protection to shoppers on e-commerce order fulfillment. Order protection itself is in the customer experience game, so I'm sure that we are in for a lot of great insights. So, Breanna, thank you so much for taking time to chat with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm sure we're going to dive into so much good conversation. So, thank you.
Yeah, so I was especially excited to chat with you because you oversee both customer support for the shoppers that are buying protection on their orders and customer success for the brands that are offering order protection to their customers. It's a huge role. So, first thing I want to chat about is can you share how you tailor your approach to serving these two different segments?
Yeah, I think again, when you're delivering any type of support service experience, it doesn't really matter who your customer is. The framework is essentially the same. But I think with the customer success side, we're building relationships versus the customer support side, we're building experience support initiatives. Making sure again that we're over indexing on that customer experience perspective. So while they run parallel in many aspects, we just kind of, again, think of the two, like just to simplify it as much as I can is, one is more relationship building, whereas one is more support driven initiatives around how we can, again, make the experience that we have with a direct to consumer just above expectation and the best level of service that we can provide.
I really love that. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And that is a really great segue into something I wanted to chat about. I saw that order protection approves 97% of claims, which is like really stellar, really going above and beyond. But on the flip side of that, I'm wondering how do you go about providing a great or at least a good positive customer experience to the people who are submitting the small percentage of claims that order protection has to deny?
Yeah, it's always, it's in every role from a support standpoint is sometimes you have to deliver bad news. There is what I believe to be an art in delivering bad news really well. So it's really just how you say it, leveraging the opportunities to educate the customer. Again, in how we convey that is really dependent on and how it's received on the other end. So we can deliver bad news very well and explain it to them. And the good news is that we have such close relationships with our brands that should we need to make exceptions, which we all do in our industry, it's part of you know again over indexing on that customer experience. So while we may make exceptions and what have you, we are really empowered by the brands with our relationships to make those one-off cases or exceptions, and we hold such close and easy relationships with them that we feel confident in that. And going back to the conversation we had too with the customer success roles versus customer support roles, these two roles and teams work so well and so cohesively together that it really benefits that end consumer as well as the brand because we're collaborating on solutions. So if we do have a scenario where we maybe are considering an exception for a consumer based on whatever the situation is, we have direct access and we can collaborate together, which I think impacts that experience to the consumer on the front end. And it obviously gives assurances to the brand that like we're thinking big picture. We're not just like plug and play, copy paste, do the same thing. We're really invested in the experience. We're practicing that empathy. We're really looking at the big picture of things. So again, I think all in all is really how you say it, not what you say.
Absolutely. And having those relationships with that brands, I'm sure allows you to go above and beyond, kind of a comparison would be something like travel insurance. And when you book travel insurance, it says you are dealing with that company on their own. And,
Right.
the airline or the hotel, I mean, usually for me, it's airlines or cruise ship, they're not going to get involved. And hopefully all goes well, but that's kind of the neat thing about this, kind of hybrid role is that you can take the best. And then when you do need to make those exceptions, maybe it's that customer that's their number one customer or whatever, where,
Exactly.
it is worth that exception. You are going to
Exactly.
go above and beyond for the people who've been really loyal. So that's a really
Yeah.
neat feature.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Such
that's
a
really
good
cool.
perspective that you put on it. That's a really good perspective. And you're right. Generally, there's like that hands off. And it's almost like I had this terrible experience the other day with Kohl's. And, it was just that, like, I'm sorry, I can't help you because, um, I don't have the approval. It didn't make me feel like I was important. And it felt like a very big disconnect. And that is exactly what I want to avoid at all costs because, again, we should over index on the consumer experience, whatever that may be, even if they make an error. We need to empathize with that. We're all human. We all make mistakes. So, yeah, I like to bridge the gap. And I think since coming to order protection and even some of the brands I've had history with their CX leaders, so they know me, they know kind of how I, run my CX experience teams and having that trust in them trusting me is so valuable because they know I am going to go above and beyond and they trust that. They trust those decisions that I'm giving to our internal team. So it's really cohesive. We're taking a ton of work, a ton of costs off of the brands, CX teams and support teams. But at the end of the day, we're still very much connected to them. We're very much mimicking the brand tone or the brand experience that they have created and evolved. So again, it doesn't feel like that cut and you're now dealing with this other company who's limited and the things they can do for you. So it really is important to us that we have cohesive collaboration on any and all things.
Right, because you really are a partner for that brand's
Right.
success. It is
Yeah.
not, especially like I think those of us who are in this field, we understand those delineations, but to a lot of end consumers, they're not doing that research. They see order protection.
No.
Maybe they even think they're buying it from the brand. Maybe they don't even realize, especially people go so fast through checkouts. And so, I know we hear the word seamless like everywhere, but this I think is finally deserving of that adjective. And really striving to deliver that, but really going above and beyond is what it's all about. I've worked as a CX agent. No
Exactly.
one likes having to deliver bad news. Everyone likes to be able to make it happen, for people. So
Right.
I think that's a really great just attitude to go about it, and that's what consumers want. So
Right, right. Seamless is important. We know nobody reads. So we're all
nobody
guilty of it.
reads.
I'm guilty of it. I'm 100% guilty of it. I am the one that has 5 seconds to do something. And so you're right. We're all moving so fast. And I think that's where we can bring it down a notch and just relate with people. And the beauty is we have this cohesive process and it's really working obviously in reviews and the experiences that consumers are having with us directly as well as the brand. So so far so good.
Great. So then I know we chatted a lot about cohesion, but kind of switching gears a little bit as we're getting towards the end of the year, I love to kind of throw in some timely questions. So just wondering, what's your biggest learning or observation, in the CX field from the past year?
Gosh, yeah, this is a hard one. There's probably so many, but I think maybe something that's kind of like top of mind is just elevating more, I guess, boots on the ground leaders that have experience actually working in those front lines. I think this would better impact just customer experience throughout like the brand strategies. We probably need more resources and support for those frontline agents that know better than anybody, um, the ins and outs of what works and what doesn't work with consumer behaviors. So I've said this multiple times throughout various speaking events that I had this year, and that was really something that was a goal of mine was we need to find a way throughout our industry to elevate those frontline voices because they really do harness so much knowledge, and that's power, right? So I would love to see that a little bit more. And I saw that at the beginning of the year. I started to see these trends of like, you don't really hear these voices that have been on the front lines, like boots on the ground. And so that again, that was something early on that I was like, I really want to tackle this. And slowly but surely, I'm starting to see this, and it's exciting to see people that have said, "Oh yes, I've worked in support. I know what that feels like," and we're starting to see that more within our industry, which is exciting because previously it was the same thing, just marketing people. A ton of like paid people, like all of our executive leaders, obviously, but it was like we didn't really have a space or an advocacy for those frontline people. And so, yeah, I'm excited to start to see that increase and get a little bit better in our industry.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of, there's been so many like advancements in technology and the products that we use and the way that we can serve customers that customer support is not an easy job. It is not, and it's unfortunately often seen as an easy job or a dead end job.
Yes.
And which is so disappointing because it's really hard and it involves a lot of skill. I lived it. It was really tough. It was the toughest job I've ever had.
Yeah.
And absolutely when it makes a difference when you elevate people, whether it's their voices or whether they are the ones seeing that career progression into management roles, that makes a big difference when someone has done that job themselves. And then I know you talked about providing more resources towards CX agents and every single discussion of CX, I'm sure, is touching on AI. So I'm wondering, is your team using AI or exploring ways to use AI to provide those resources to your frontline reps? Or if not, would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, we're not as robust with the AI solutions like where I came from, right? At True Classic, I started with AI about 2 years before the industry was like, oh, this is the new trend, and everybody hopped on it. So I'm excited that I feel like I was a early pioneer in that adoption because it can absolutely impact efficiencies, and that's like to my core. Everything that I focus on is how can we do this more efficiently. We do leverage AI on this side to try to help with sentiment automations. Mostly like what everybody else is doing. But thinking in the future, I know obviously how impactful of a tool AI can be. I think there's been a big misnomer over the last year and a half of what AI can do and how easy it is. The misnomer being that it's a plug and play, which it's really
Right.
not. AI does require a ton of resource, time, value, poured into it in order for it to perform like you want it to. So I do absolutely foresee so much growth and opportunity with uh, partnering with maybe like other AI partners in the space that we can work with to build out even more efficiencies and automation on our side. But right now, we're certainly using bare minimum. But I'm excited to kind of see where we can grow and further again set trends and do things that nobody else is doing out there because I think that's always exciting. That's what motivates me is 2 years from now, that's kind of where I'm at. Um, and so I'm excited to bring that over to like the tech support space because I think it's been such a hot topic right now for brands. But on the tech side, when you build out your own solutions and you're not necessarily using like a help center, um, it's different. So this is where those partnerships are so valuable so that you can build that into your solutions.
Well, I mean, that's really great. And one of the things that our director of solutions consulting says is that when it comes to AI and customer support, everyone thinks everyone else is already using it. And maybe they're using just the service level of it, but really so many of these tools have just kind of come to market. And we're hearing a
Yeah.
lot about it because everyone's releasing them. And I'm sure that soon, and as Paul said, copying him, as Paul says, next year, absolutely, they'll be way more, entrenched. So now's the time to get going on them, start making a plan. As you said, implementing AI is a big thing. It's resource intensive. So it's like now's the time to make that plan. But you're not behind if you don't already have it. It just feels like it because we hear a lot about it. So
Yeah.
as you said, you're thinking about the kind of 2 years in the future. I'm wondering if you can speak to any of your kind of team goals for next year, 2025.
Yeah, just again, continuing to find efficiencies in everything that we're doing. Obviously, over indexing on the customer experience. How can we, as a tech SaaS provider, come in and really provide experiences that are not happening out there in our space? I think again, something that I'm so proud of so far that Order Protection has already built are these relationships with our brands. So again, we've built this experience that's really seamless when you do file a claim. We're looking at making that even more seamless if possible, and building even more automation. We're really looking to partner with giant brands. The biggest thing that I'm so excited about is the amount of volume that we can take off of brands is so impactful. I mean, we're talking like up to 80% of your shipping inquiry issues being removed from your help desk, your support teams, is invaluable. I can't tell you how many brands I went on their websites during this crazy Black Friday time and they have no chat option. Their response times are 3 to 5 business days. And all I see is the money that is literally being lost because I have no access to you. This is where I think automations and AI are such a pivotal tool because you don't have to have an agent on to be there on your website providing some level of service that can generate additional CVR. So I just look forward to again helping our industry realize some things that seem so overwhelming and scary really aren't. And for us internally at Order Protection to seriously just soar over the mountaintops because we're building such an amazing solution that is 100% built for our brands and our consumers. And I think when you have that much passion and heart and soul built into something that you believe in, the sky's the limit. And so I'm excited for 2025 to really see our company progress and grow and brands coming to us to say, help me. How do I do this better? And us really being able to take that off of their plates.
Yeah, it feels like truly like a win-win-win scenario. The customer feels more secure that if something goes wrong with their package delivery, they have some kind of recourse. They're going to be okay. The brands, they're making additional sales from people who there are a lot of
Right.
people who don't order because they have, wariness about their shipment. I mean, I live in an apartment building. All of our packages just go to a breezeway. We've luckily not dealt with any theft, but it could happen at any time.
Yeah.
And we are aware of that when we place an order and we know that it could just be gone. And I don't love
Yeah.
that feeling. And
No,
so I've never seen something like that. But if it was a nominal cost and this item is important to me, absolutely throw it on
exactly.
there. And
Exactly.
as you said, for brands, like when I was in customer support, I worked in it was e-commerce furniture, and so many of the tickets at the time were all about where is my order, or something happened with my order, or theft, or something like that.
Right.
Smaller
Right.
items, larger items, you had to, sign for delivery with freight. And there were so many times that if we could have just had like that insurance policy, it could have been kind of dealt with a little bit or sent a new one or automatic refund
Exactly.
rather than chasing down where's this item, where does it go? Things just vanish. I had an
Yeah.
order that didn't arrive recently and then it did arrive. And I think what had happened was it just went to someone else's mailbox.
Oh,
That
yeah.
happens.
There's sometimes carriers say they delivered it just for the sense of like, I want to look like I did my job. Then they find it in the truck 3 days later and they're like, oh, shoot.
Right.
There's so many variables. But to your point, if this is costing cents on the dollar and a brand has to one, deal with the customer, has to two, pay for the cost of the replacement, you could literally leverage an order protection service that's going to generate more revenue on your end. And if whether you have it consumer funded or brand funded doesn't matter, you're still making sense on the dollar. Like it's mind blowing to me how people do not activate this immediately because number one, it's removing all of that volume, cost, pressure, experience off of your internal teams. Like you said, elevating the customer experience, giving them assurances, and we're completely owning that entire experience. And all you're doing is literally watching additional revenue come in. And so from a brand perspective, I'm not sure why more people don't adopt this. From a consumer standpoint, to your point, like it's pennies on the dollar. Like, why wouldn't I just insure my shipment for no questions asked? Simple, easy appeasement. I'm done.
Such peace of
It
mind,
Yes.
truly.
I mean, you would be amazed at the videos we get from our customers showing just straight up somebody coming to their porch and stealing their package. Like
Happens
it's
all the time.
right.
All the time.
And then you have those other cadences where tracking is not moving. It is lost in la la land. Most brands don't do guaranteed delivery. So things get
Right.
lost, they get delayed. We're dealing with Christmas gifts. Like you want your consumer to receive that on time. So again, this is just another way to elevate that experience. And super, big shout out and props to the brands that are thinking ahead of how to over index on that consumer experience because again, what sets you apart from the next competitor is really how you're delivering those assurances of your not only your product but the entire experience. So hoping to see more brands and leaders in the space really prioritize their customers experience with that shipping because you literally have one shot and
Mhm.
chances are things are going to go wrong with that delivery. So again, having that insurance backup of listen, even when things do go wrong, we got your back, really makes a difference.
And I think that's what's really neat about this innovation and a lot of the innovations we're seeing, they're really driven by people who are trying to solve the problem. And for so many years, I feel like bad customer service was just something that we kind of like accepted,
Right.
especially with the rise of, as we were switching to online shopping rather than like in-person shopping. And it just kind of took a couple of years, but I think and when I say we, I mean, the CX industry kind of figured out what can we do to make it better, and it's innovations like these, and
Absolutely.
it really does feel like truly a win all around, and that's what's so great. I think people feel good when they know that like everyone's happy, everyone's good
Exactly.
about it, and it's just really neat to see innovations coming from this aspect of the business rather than just top down or consumer surveys. It's really coming from the CX team.
Exactly. Exactly. And we all need to be better about things are going to go wrong. We know that. So let's have solutions in place ahead of time so that way we can minimize the friction that it causes on our consumers end.
Yeah. So then I also love to ask basically most of my guests, all my guests, what are the top challenges that your team has seen in the last few months? It does seem like obviously order protection has a really great fulfillment rate, which is great, but there's always challenges. So if you
Always,
could
yeah.
speak to those, I think we'd love to hear kind of the flip side of what we've been chatting about so far.
Yeah, I think for our team right now, and probably the rest of the industry out there, is just volumes. Um, Now is when we start to see the volumes, the influx coming in and being able to manage that. Luckily, we've built, again, a ton of efficiencies in the process, in the automation of how we handle our claims. We've obviously staffed accordingly, knowing that we're going to have an influx. So looking at historical data to determine, how many agents do we need? We do 24/7 support, which was super exciting to me because I even did that when I was on the brand side. Because again, when you're an online business, especially global, you are 100% a 24/7 outfit. And again, if somebody's landing on your website, you need to be available if you want to drive conversion. So, yeah, so we just again are dealing with the volumes and the influx. I think you have to all be prepared for the lack of patience, stress. You're going to be dealing with consumers that are walking a tightrope. They have a thin line of patience, and so we want to make sure that we're already expecting that. We're reading through, tapping into sentiment to make sure that we're responding appropriately and being empathetic with whatever the scenario is. But it all in all, in general, the majority of our situations are people are going in filing claims, and they don't necessarily need to talk to us at all, which is great. And in our end, it's just again turning that volume as efficiently as we can.
That's great. That's a good problem to have.
Yes, yes, agreed.
Awesome. Well, as we wrap up, I want to see if you have any other pieces of advice you'd like to share for CX leaders out there. This is your kind of shot. If there's
Oh,
any
how
other
fun!
message you want to share.
Gosh, let's see. I guess just again, I'd love to challenge all of our CX leaders in this space, whether you're on the brand side or tech side or consulting side, of just leveraging those frontline boots on the ground workers that are dealing with essentially all the problems of the world, right? That they didn't create. Right now, as we head into literally the craziest season, just give them a shout out, give them a pat on the back, send them a coffee, pay for, dinner for their family, because chances are they're working tirelessly to advocate and support your brands. And to the rest of us, like, it's a crazy time. Continue building relationships, nurturing our community, which I think in the CX space is such a beautiful breath of fresh air. I have literally met the most amazing people in the world through this little CX industry. So continue supporting each other, showing up for one another, and just enjoy the holidays. Just, yeah, be good people. Let's all just be good people.
Good. That's absolutely the energy we love here. We know that CX can be a really, really tough job. And this is just the good kind of attitude that we want to share, and we can make it
Yes.
better for all of us involved.
Heck yes.
I love that. Well, thank
I
you
love it.
so much. I learned a lot. Really appreciate you taking the time to share, your insights, and just like what a great vibe. We love that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was so fun.